sold the business, balanced the budget. I did one last thing. And it's going to tell you why I'm running for Congress. I bought a car dealership, and I don't know if anybody heard of this, but we had a car dealership in the city of Wadsworth that actually was a very good car dealership until a gentleman took it over and bought it. And when he bought it, little do we know that he was actually going to be convicted in less than a year and a half of money laundering and fraud and everything else. And he ultimately, this dealership was going to be ready to close. So I was asked if I would be willing to take over a dealership. And I had no real interest in owning a car dealership, but what I thought was I can help again, one more time, my community by saving approximately 50 jobs. So I did step up. I did acquire the dealership. I can tell you it was at the worst possible position it could be. 14 months later, I had it stable. It was operating. We were in great shape. And then what happened was what I believe is the worst thing in American history is that one of the worst things in American history is that the federal government took over General Motors. General Motors files bankruptcy, and all of a sudden the darkest day in American capitalism occurs when dealerships across the country started getting letters that said, you can stay in business, you can't, you can stay in business, you can't. Surprise, surprise, I had a dealership that had received one of those letters. Another scary moment in my life, although now I was a little bit more secure, but I've started to say I was more concerned for the future, because how can the government step up and take over somebody's business? So with those concerns, I decided, the government is really going in the wrong direction. There are really some problems here. We have cap and trade, which is a bad thing, and the government's approving it. We got a congressman approving it. We got spending of over $1 billion an hour for the first 50 days of 2009, and the government's approving it. But what really hit pretty much home for me was our Congressman John Bocheri also was a big believer, at least I thought he was, in the auto industry and the car dealerships. And my car dealership had sent him a lot of letters saying, hey, we need your support, we need your support, we need your support. And ultimately, on July 14th, when legislation went through the House of Representatives to reinstate car dealerships, and John Bocheri knew I was watching, he voted no. And I can tell you on July 15th, I made a commitment to remove John Bocheri. So my goal really is to do that. My goal is to take back this seat for all of you, because quite frankly, it's not something I planned on doing. That's not something that was in my, what's my future. I had really had never said I'm going to be a congressman, but I got to a point where I said, what's the problem? You know what our real problem is? And again, I tell people, we've let this government get and go in the wrong direction, and whose fault is it? It's ours, because we have the votes, and we put the wrong people in. And then I started looking at what are the people that are going in? Who are the people that are going to Congress? We'll start looking at them. They're ones that need a career. They all need a job. A lot of them, not all of them, but especially Mr. Bocheri. He's a career politician. He needs a job. We start to look at the background of somebody that we're sending down to Congress, and we've got to start to say, wow, we got some real issues here. So started to look at some of his votes, and I started to say, let's start to think about putting people in Congress that have a little bit of experience. So here's the reason why I'm running for Congress, and I kind of just gave you my it's almost like we're taking off now, and I'm going to give you my 3 reasons, because now you know my background. Number 1 reason is you need to be represented by somebody other than Nancy Pelosi, because today you're being represented. You are being represented by Nancy Pelosi. John Bocheri votes with Nancy Pelosi 94% of the time. Second reason I'm running for Congress is I'm tired that we're putting people in Congress that have no life experiences, that have never balanced the budget, have never signed the front of paychecks, more of the front of paychecks than the back of paychecks like I have never had to balance a government budget, have never had to struggle from the standpoint of a business and try and make it work, have never had to make sure the payroll is made, and that's a problem. Because when we send people to Congress that don't have that kind of experience, this is what we get. So the second reason I'm running is because I believe that if you send me to Congress, you're going to get somebody with 27 years of life experiences, not only in building a business, not only in balancing a business budget, not only in balancing a government budget, 27 years of raising a family, and 27 years of understanding what it takes to make a payroll. That's what you get with me. That's my second reason. Third reason is, and this is where the Republican side comes in, because I'm going to tell you, I'm running as an American first, because that's the issue here. This isn't about Republicans or Democrats anymore. This is about being an American. I'm running as American first, but I am running as a Republican. And the reason I'm running as a Republican is 4 basic reasons. I do believe in a lot of Republican ideals, which are, I believe in less government. I believe in less taxes. I truly believe in personal responsibility is something we need to take back and start thinking about. And the fourth and most important is I also believe that we need a strong military, and we have to make sure that our military is always the strongest in the world. So those would be my 3 reasons for running for Congress. Now, 6 months ago, none of you probably even knew who I was. I mean, how many people knew who Jim Renacci was 6 or 7 months ago? Maybe a couple. And what I've had to do is work for the last 6 months. I mean, I jumped in this race August 23rd, and I had to convince people who I was, and I had to tell people what my background was, and I had to tell people what my experience was. And I can tell you, I also had to tell them my message. And my message, I think people started to catch on. They started saying, this is a guy that we think could be our next congressman. And since that time, I'm proud to say that I got over 110, I don't keep track of them any more, but about approximately 110 endorsements, which, again, most of those people didn't know who I was. Last week I was endorsed by Ohio Right to Life. I was also endorsed by Concerned Women of America. A few months back, I was endorsed by the Congressional Conservative PAC down in Washington, which is a conservative group of congressmen in Washington. I was endorsed by Secretary of State Blackwell, and I've been endorsed by I was endorsed by the Medina County Republican Party. I've now been endorsed by the Ohio Republican Party, and the list continues going on and on. But it's going on because people have gotten to know me. Representative Anschutz here has endorsed me. Senator Gibbs has endorsed me. I'm just thinking of some people locally, too, that have endorsed me. Chairman Smell has endorsed me. So all in all, the list continues to grow. But I think the list is growing because of what you're hearing. Now, what do I believe in? Well, I told you I believe in less taxes. And I'm a firm believer, if I go down that list of some of the things we have to be concerned about, we have 2001 and 2003 tax cuts that are set to expire. I believe those should be maintained. They save you approximately $1,200 per family. Those are the type of cuts that you need as that middle of the road American. Because, you know, we call and nobody knows where we all fit in, but I know one thing. Everybody can use a $1,200 tax cut no matter what you're earning. And we need to maintain those 2001 and 2003 tax cuts. We have a couple other taxes out there. We have a capital gains tax, which helps businesses grow. We just passed a health care bill, which is going to increase that. That's in my opinion, capital gains should be maintained at what they were. They should not increase. Alternative minimum tax, a lot of people don't even know what it is. But I can tell you it affects and actually affects a lot of people in this room. And next time you finish your tax return, ask your CPA if you have alternative minimum tax on that tax return, because it is something that was set up to take care of the reduction of itemized deductions, but now it affects a lot more people. And the fourth thing, which is very important, especially for the farming industry, is the death tax. If you think about it, we are taxed to death all our life, and then we are taxed again at death. And if that isn't something, I mean, the death tax needs to be eliminated. It's one of the, when I think of a family farmer who's taken their business and grew their business, and now they want to pass it on to their children or their grandchildren, and when they die, 45% of that today will go to the federal government. That's a problem. We need to eliminate that tax.